Welcome, Planeteers. Ever wondered why is it always that good wins over evil? At least in every folktale around the world. There is not a single tale in the world where evil has won. Isn't it fascinating? Such a streak is unparalleled in the world. It just portrays evil as a terrible adversary, like a very bad player who does not know how to win. And even after millennia of trying again and again, it is either that or it is too good a player that we cannot till date get a grasp of the real game. The main question to ask is who writes this history? Or whose version of history do we actually hear? If you look at it, history is actually written by the one who actually wins it. Because the loser is dead to write any of it or his version of the history. And which victor in the right mind will accept all the wrongdoings it has done, accept all the evil he has done, and accept himself to be the villain? No one. Everybody wants to be the hero, and this is not true. This is so true that kings had dedicated poets and writers who would write their odes to their great kings and then spread among people to increase the popularity of the kings and spread propaganda. And this has been from time immemorial. Ramayana had Valmiki, Mahabharata had Ved Vyas. And these writers polished disgusting acts and portrayed them as heroic. That is why the epitome of humanity, Lord Ram, the torchbearer of righteousness, is justified in doing a sneak attack on King Bali and literally backstabbing him to death, or sending his wife to exile again after she had proven her innocence and had spent almost all her life as a captive and then in exile, all for him, just because some random people questioned her integrity. And then we talk about Mahabharata, and it is full of these anecdotes, so to say. First of all, let's start with the portrayed main villain, Duryodhan. The history has been so much manipulated that no one knows that his real name was not Duryodhan but actually Suryodhan. Anybody who knows even a bit of Hindi or Sanskrit knows that the prefix du is always used for bad things and su for good things. And which parent will name their son with the prefix tu? This is a fact that Pandavas changed his name after his death so that his name is maligned forever. And remember, he was not all bad. When Pandavas used to discriminate Karan for his birth and caste, he was the one who made him his best friend and also a king. I know what Kauravas did with Draupadi was downright disgusting and there is no justification for it. But who put her in that spot? Who placed her as a bet in the first place, using her as a materialistic object and used it to play one more round of gamble just to win back the kingdom? Her own husbands did that, all for the greed of land. But of course, only the Kauravas were bad because history tells us so. Krishna was literally given the name Chaliya, which translates to cheater. But the history manipulated it in such a way that it became a sweet name instead, and justified every action he did, and broke every rule in the book just to win a war. Hence, his decapitating someone who had just dropped all his weapons, and his mourning the loss of his son, which also was another lie by Krishna, is also justified. This is how deep this manipulation goes. I mean, despite having 16,000 wives, it is his relationship with Radha that he did not marry is the epitome of love. I do not wish to hurt any feelings. I have nothing against any of the above. In fact, I follow Krishna and Rama and consider them to be good leaders. And especially Krishna because I consider him to be a great war strategist and tactician. And I try to inculcate what he did in his life, in my life as well, just the teachings and all that stuff. I am just trying to throw light on how manipulation of history works. This is not about any against any religion. This there evidence regarding this in every religion in the world. I am just showing light on how the manipulation of history works. And this has continued till date. I mean, everybody remembers the American independence and how they fought for democracy. But they really get independence. And who got it? because the aboriginal, who are the real owners, are nowhere to be seen. Where did this white population come from, the Caucasian one? Clearly, they were not natives. And their own countries, the aboriginals, the original aboriginals, have now been confined to small pockets in their own country with special privileges if they continue to stay in that pocket. Not everywhere, but if they continue to stay in that pocket, in that specific piece of land in their own country. Excellent work. Isn't this how you cage someone and lock them down forever? This is similar in Australia, Canada, and so many other countries. Are they really free? I mean, one look at who actually lives there and enjoys the country, and it still looks pretty much like a colony to me. Second World War is again such a great example of this. Whatever Hitler did is deemed horrific, and rightly so. But how somehow dropping a nuclear bomb on civilians is considered to be a necessary move and a required sacrifice. Sacrifice was made by someone else, but the credit and hero was someone else, and history will portray it as such. Other question to ask is, the most fabled heroes in one culture often turn out to be the most treacherous villains in another culture. Why isn't there a uniformity regarding this? There can only be one truth. And this too, even in recent history, when the means of clear communication were so much better established. There are so many examples. The first one being Winston Churchill. You ask any of the British colony, and for them, he was as bad as Hitler, if not worse. Everyone remembers the Holocaust, but nobody remembers him, how he single-handedly was the architect of the biggest famine in Bengal, killing millions of people because he deliberately diverted the water supply for irrigation to maintain his reserve stockpile when the land was going through a drought, so that the white elitist could use if the supply is scarce. Holocaust was bad, but giving slow deaths to millions of people through starvation is no mean feat either. And yet, he is the most decorated, most celebrated Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in history. Another case could be made of Taimur. For us, he was a bandit who looted cities, murdered people, dishonored women, and left the bodies for birds. And yet, you go to Uzbekistan, and the main square of the capital city of Tashkent is dedicated to him, their greatest hero. Do you see a pattern here? Alexander and Genghis Khan failed to conquer India. In another great example of manipulated history, because historians will tell you they won the war. This concept of good over evil is so flawed that even mythology seems so biased. I mean, you really look at the concept of heaven and hell, and clearly heaven is more judgmental of people and their deeds, and even if you get heaven, will you be able to keep it? Because the judgment is continuous and relentless, and one small mistake and you will be thrown to hell. I mean, if this can happen to Lucifer, who are we? So, next time you read or believe any of your heroes, take some time to actually flip the coin, see the other side of history that has been kept in dark, and then make a judgment. There are no heroes, there are no villains. Everybody is just human, and try to take them as such. Live long and prosper.